Hey, everybody, welcome to this episode of the B2B Revenue Leadership Podcast. What if we could tell who is actually interested in our product already out on the internet, doing research, looking at topics that we solve, problems that we solve, but they don't know about us. They're not looking at our website, they're looking at other websites, publications, all of these people, all of this data that's out there. What if we could find them and know who they are and then start advertising them and getting them to come to our website? This is what we call in market. Now, this is now possible with a company called Bombora. Bombora's CEO is joining me today, and we're going to talk through how he was able to come up with this idea and how he is monetizing it and enabling B2B marketers to find the people that are in market. It used to be when people were in market, they would convert, come to our webpage through our advertising. But the advertising's too busy. It's too crowded out there. Then we went to content. Now there's way too much content. We hit peak content. The data is so big now that we need to be able to automate it. So instead of just hunting and pecking, we know who's already interested, who already feels the pain that we solve and is looking to solve that pain. Which brings me up to, is your sales team using nudge.ai? Because what I'm learning is, guess what? Relationships count a lot when you're selling. Because until somebody knows you, they don't like you and they don't trust you. So make sure you're checking out nudge.ai. It'll tell you who within your company has the best relationship with who at your customer or prospects companies. This is incredibly powerful. This is what we've been looking for so long. Let's let AI do all the grunt work for us and let us do the human work. Also, at the end of this, I want to talk to you about a new concept. We've heard of sales development rep, but there's this whole new category called marketing development rep. These are outbound people who, through social, email, voice, whatever means possible, is building relationships with potential customers in an account-based way to get them interested, get through the know, like, and trust stages, and to convert. And, the sales team's trying to do it, but they've got numbers to make, and there's pressure, and what they tend to do is hit the pitch too fast, and they rush to the no instead of taking time to get to the yes. People in marketing understand that taking the time to get to yes. You're already at no. You don't have to do anything. Let's get in. Let's learn more about Bombora. Okay. Hey, Eric, thanks for joining us today. As a way of getting started, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, nice to meet you. So I've been fortunate to have been in the tech or internet tech space for the greater part of 20 years now as an entrepreneur, having done 4 startups. This is my 4th, and excited to be here talking to you about it today.
And what does Bombora do?
So at a very high level, what we do is we aggregate and organize B2B data, everything from behavioral data to demographic and firmographic data. And then what's really unique about it is we make that data actionable for everyone from sales to marketing in the B2B landscape.
And how'd you come up with the idea?
Well, at the time, this goes back 4 or 5 years ago, I was running a different business, a business called Medicine Logic, which was a media business. It still is a media business. And what we realized was that behavioral data, meaning knowing what your audience was interested in before you sent the campaign, made a whole lot of difference, meaning that if you were able to target a campaign to individuals or companies that were interested in products that you were selling, the performance metrics, whether it be an open rate from an email or a click-through rate on a display ad, everything seemed significantly exponentially better if you knew more about the audience. So the idea really was at the time, as part of a media business, how could we get more behavioral data on the various audiences that we were targeting on behalf of our marketers? And the idea then became, well, how do we talk to all of the other publishers to aggregate all of this behavioral data together so that everybody has more scale? So it was really a co-op business model idea at the get-go. That's how the idea was started and how we got started. However, what we ran into was most of the media companies that we spoke to, and we talked to some of the largest media companies on the planet, they all thought it was a fantastic idea. Everybody believed that more data was better, and knowing more about your audience was better. problem that we had was they all said to us, "It's a great idea, but you're a media company and you compete against us. Your end product, media business. So when you're not part of that business, let us know." So we took that as our key to spin it out as a separate entity, build a data co-op, start putting together partnerships with all of these large B2B media companies around the world, which we've done today, and aggregate this data so that it became useful for all of these other media companies.
So is it a profit sharing with the content companies?
Yeah, so to an extent, is that what we really realized was that rather than being profit sharing, that all of these companies that are in our data co-op, and there's some pretty large ones. I'll give you some ideas of who's really in here, just so the audience understands that it's real, it's big. There's about 3,000 publishers that are participating right now, and they range from your Wall Street journals and your Quinn Streets and CBS's to much smaller, more niche publishers that have very targeted audiences, like Martech Advisor or 1105 was a lot of B2B technology sites and publications. So what we realized was that these companies, the revenue share aspect and getting paid for their contribution was interesting, but not as interesting as how could they use the data to build products. Their main core business is selling media or lead gen, content syndication, and they can make significantly more, infinitely more money by having access to the data at a discount and building unique products which had a unique value proposition to their core audiences, which is marketers for the most part, than necessarily getting checks for contributing data. So that being said, we do both. There are some publishers who don't really have the resources to take advantage of using the data, and in those cases, we do and we'll write checks. But the biggest publishers that we work with today are really taking advantage of a discount program where they can buy data from us at a steeply discounted price.
And so how does it work? Is it by cookie, or is it by IP address? Is it by login?
All of the above. So first of all, the data that we aggregate is everything. It's not just publisher data, but it's on the publisher side. What we have is we have a taxonomy. We have an NLP engine that looks at the pages that users are reading. It topicizes those pages, and it starts to make sense of what users are reading and what topics they're interested in. But we do this not just at a user level. We do it at, you mentioned IP address. We do this at a company level as well. It's part of our IP that we own, besides the NLP engine and all the data science that goes behind it, is we also have our own IP to domain map. So we can actually identify which companies around the world are looking at what types of content and at what propensity, and if those companies are doing a lot more research than usual on a particular topic. And as you can see, that becomes really valuable. So it's all of the above, and there's a lot more to it than probably we can get into in a quick interview, but we'd love to do that another time, perhaps.
Yeah, can you send me the API?
Yeah, exactly.
And so how do you guys now take this and, your customers, who are they?
Yeah. So we have really two sets of, there's two business units, if you will. There's the digital side, where we're making this data available in the programmatic or cookie side of things, where agencies and marketers are buying our data so they can digitally target users with display ads, right? So that's your typical, they want to target users on any of the channels, buying programmatic ads, right? And they want to target business users who are interested in a certain topic, right? So that's a big part of our business. And the customers there, really we sell through the channel. So we sell, our data is available in Blue Kai or IOTA or the Trade Desk or MediaMath or AppNexus, right? So all of the standard places that you would buy data for programmatic advertising, our data is available, and we sell through the channel. So we a lot of times don't have a direct relationship with the marketer. The agency will be buying it. We have agency reps who talk to the agencies and show them where our data could be applicable to their clients, and then show them how to get access to it. But at the end of the day, they're not actually buying it direct from us. They're buying it through those channels. The other side of our business is what we call company search analytics. It's an analytics product which we sell on a subscription, and we sell that direct to the 300 largest B2B marketers in the world. We have a sales team that goes out. We talk directly to those large enterprises, and we sell them subscriptions so that the CMO or the CRO can identify which companies that are on their ABM or account-based marketing or target list are most interested in their products this week. And it's an annual subscription that notifies their tech stack or sales tech stack or marketing tech stack on which companies to target at any given time. Now, we sell that direct to about 300 to the 300 largest companies in the world, and then the rest of the companies, the long tail, which we have identified as about 6,000 companies worldwide, we don't sell direct. We actually sell through our channel partners. We have about 55 channel partners there, which are companies like in the PLS space that have many customers. Or you'd mentioned like a Discover or those kinds of companies that have relationships with the mid to long tail marketers, and they build products with using our data, and they sort of essentially resell our product.
And how granular can it be? Now, like if I was a sales guy, I see,
Yep.
ABC company is, looking at these type of ads or these type of articles that talk about the problem that I solve.
Mm-hmm.
What can I do with that?
What can you do with that, or I think you started off with asking how granular it was.
Yeah. I mean, what will I see? And then, how do people use it?
Yeah, so the topics, there's currently about 3,500 topics, so it's pretty granular. It's all B2B topics, and it's in just tech alone, there's probably 1,500 topics in tech, and then we have other verticals like HR, human resources, marketing, finance, etc. So it can be quite granular, and that's actually how we sell it. So when we sell the subscription to an enterprise, we look at how many topics they care about, and they subscribe based on how many topics they want us to monitor for them, and the price scales based on how many topics they care about.
And what type of success are your clients having with this?
The good news is that we are running at almost 100% renewal rate, so the success is very high. We're in our fourth year. Yeah, I mean, it's like everybody talks about their the uptick that they see, but we do. But we have plenty of case studies on the website from very large enterprises that do talk about the success metrics that they see in when they use it for sales or for marketing or email marketing, and the uptick is sometimes astonishing, 200-300% literally on the test sets that they use with our data. But at the end of the day, renewal rates and attrition or renewal rates are really the best metrics to look at, because that's sort of the proof.
And how about your salespeople? How do they use it to try and find, their next target?
Yeah, we are definitely drinking our own champagne. We are running ABM campaigns right now using our own data. We've identified I mentioned 5,000 or 6,000 companies in the universe that we believe are good prospects for us, and we've also identified the superset of those, which is about 300 companies that we call key account lists, and we are running digital campaigns programmatically to target all of those companies right now with our, and we're tracking that all the way through pipeline to show our marketing team is able to show our sales team that they're reaching the right companies, and that not only are they reaching the right companies, those companies are more often coming back to our website, and what percentage of those are turning into pipeline.
And what type of sales approach is working for you guys today?
Yeah, so it's really a two-pronged approach. I'm speaking mostly about analytics, I guess, when I speak about this, because that's where we have more visibility. On the digital programmatic side, it's harder for us because it is sold through the channel, and we're sort of one or two steps removed. Even though the business is growing very well, we have less impact on it. But on the analytics side, what's working for our sales team is two things. Number one, the long tail, mid-market long tail approach of the channel is working extremely well. We have we made the decision to leverage those channel partners and train their salespeople and build programs that are equally incentivizing us and them to sell our analytics product. And so that's actually working extremely well. Up until a few months ago, we really only had a few salespeople on the enterprise team selling direct. It was working well enough that we've decided to hire about 5 more. So we're now we have now have an enterprise sales team of just under 10 people. And it's working, but like I said, we're really very micro targeting it. There's 300 accounts on that entire list that we're working with. And the other thing I'll add that is working, and I don't know if this is one of your questions, but hiring, what I've found anyway, and I've been done this is my fourth time around, but really hiring people with experience and with Rolodex, you do have to pay more, but I'm definitely finding that it is worth it, and it's working.
Right. I mean, because you're targeting, is it the CMO level? I mean, because when you go after like the large accounts, the marketing organization is kind of a puzzle sometimes.
Yeah, and so I'm using the term CMO a little too loosely, because in those larger accounts, it's not really the CMO. The CMO is aware of it and ultimately will probably give the okay. But it depends on where we start. It could be the marketing person in charge of all of the demand gen for a large company, which is a very senior position in a public company. But it should be the CMO itself, maybe an SVP or a VP.
Because are they seeing that inbound has kind of peaked, and that now that everybody's got an inbound strategy, the world is so noisy, and really all that those A levels that they show intent. They recognize they have a problem. They're looking for a solution, but they're not converting on the website.
Right.
That's really what you're competing against, isn't it?
Yeah, it's outbound mostly too. I mean, if you marketers have been doing a lot of different things over the last 10, 15 years with content syndication and other tactics. They've also invested, by the way, a lot of money in their martech stack, and that's one of the things that changed quite dramatically is they do have the tools in place now. But what good are those tools if they're not using intelligence to refine those tactics, right? So that is a big area for us, is integrations into things like Marketo, for example. That's a good example. Marketing automation. Marketers are doing it; they're already using it, but now they want to know what message or what offer, what piece of content to send to which subset of the users that are in Marketo, so that they're not just hitting the entire database with something that's not relevant, which will then lead to more opt-outs, which actually hurts them in the long run.
And how about, are you selling it on ad savings? Because ads are getting more and more expensive, by the day. And if you can make the ads much more targeted at active in-market people versus, passive people who just fit the persona.
That's right. I mean, that is certainly one of the byproducts is smaller, more finite targeting. It doesn't necessarily turn into savings all of the time, because maybe you're hitting a third of who you would have hit, but the people that you're trying to hit are more highly sought after, so that the price might be higher, right? So, but you are hitting the right people, and you're more likely to get them to do the actions that you're hoping them to do, which ultimately will turn into pipeline and into a sale. But I'm not sure that it's necessarily just overall savings.
And what are you running into? To people believing that this is even possible, or even being aware that this exists?
You know what? I think the market's really mature. On that side of things, it's matured a lot over the last 18 months. People believe it. Everybody is. I don't think that we're running into that issue. Everybody loves it. They want to do it. But it's finding budget for something that's new, right? I mean, if you're selling advertising and you're talking to the advertising agency for a large company, they have a budget. It's just whether your offer is good enough to get a piece of that budget. With us, it's a lot of times going in for a budget that doesn't exist yet. So that just adds some cycles and time to the sales cycle.
And how do you take something like this and really, accelerate the growth? What's in your way?
So, but you could answer that for me. That's the I don't know. That's a great question. I mean, we're doing all of the things that you think you would do, right? I mean, evangelizing is a big part of it. Working with channel partners to get the word of mouth out. Like, look, we're a small company. We have 85 employees. We're doing quite well. We're growing very nicely, about 100% year over year. But we can't afford to innovate and be the mouthpiece for the entire industry. That would cost an awful lot of money. We'd have to raise a lot of money to do that, and What we've decided to do and what is working is by working with all of these channel partners. Each of these channel partners has anywhere from 20 to hundreds and hundreds of salespeople. That's giving us a lot of like your mind share, if you will, among the marketers. That intent data is real, and Bombora is the company that is leading and has the market leadership position of intent data. So that's I would say is what's working best for us. We're also doing we're getting invited to, and we're speaking at conferences and things like that. So evangelizing is a big part of it.
And do you see yourself extending out from the content providers to things like job boards, social, Twitter and LinkedIn activity?
Yeah. So yeah, no, that's a good question. We started with content with publishers. Today, we actually get a lot of data, believe it or not, from vendors. A lot of the vendors, the marketers that we work with. We built some products, an analytics product for marketers. If they put up the tag on their own site and contribute data from their own site, we give them some free analytics tools. And so that's actually been a really high growth area for us is vendor or marketer contribution, which is great data, because if you think of a user going and reading an article about a technology product or any kind of product, and then that user is also on 2 or 3 or 4 vendor websites who sell those kinds of products, that's a much richer signal. Now, of course, the volume is lower, but it's a very rich signal that our data science team loves to look at. So that's been a big area of growth for us. To the extent of social, we've looked at it. We're not doing a lot with social yet. I'm not so sure that the strength of that signal is all that great. And then there's also issues with getting it. There's only a few places to get it. So.
Cool. And so, what does 2018 look like for you?
2018 is sort of the year of it's what we call escape velocity. We've been growing at a really nice clip. We have 2 really nice foundational products, and we are now staffing for growth and infrastructure, which we really hadn't done. When you're under 100 employees, you're really when you start to factor in how many engineers it takes to build the product and support the product and the data science teams and all the other stuff, you're really at a different phase of growth. So 2018 really for us is that escape velocity. How do we now, really accelerate the business on those two products that we have?
And, given this is your 4th time around, what did you do smart or smarter this time that you didn't do before?
Yeah. I think I have done it, having done for so many years and so many times, you definitely have the opportunity to make a lot of mistakes. I'm definitely a believer that you learn a lot from your mistakes. But I think a couple of things. Number one, hiring is really one of the more important parts of any business. And I think this time around, at least, I've started off with a much more senior and experienced in their silos management team. And that's helped a lot. It's helped us get to where we are today with a lot less bumps in the road than I have in the past. So I say that's one of the big things. The other thing is, and it's not so much that I learned it in the last time around. I learned this sort of earlier on in my entrepreneurial career is financing of the company, and I've done a much better job as I've matured and gone through these cycles a few times. But raising money, a lot of companies make a lot of their biggest mistakes right there, not raising the right amount of money, raising too much money, things like that. And so I think we've positioned ourselves that we're financed well at this point, but we're also open to we can make some changes there if we wanted to. We haven't put ourselves up against the wall with raising too much money.
Yeah. So what I heard was, you did a smart thing with the channel, because that will give you a lot of scale. What do you see as your expertise? Is it on the sales side? Is it the marketing side? Is it putting all these partners together?
So you're talking about me personally, or
yeah. Because typically, a founder, is either a technologist or a marketer or salesperson.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to think of it. I came up through more of sales and marketing, although I think I'm good at putting together. Well, a couple of things. Starting with an idea, understanding sort of what the market needs are. So I have kind of that vision to be able to see out far enough of where the market's going and building something that'll be ready for when the market is there. Sometimes I'm a little too early, but there's that. And then the other thing is really, assembling the right team and letting those experts do their job. And that's a tough thing to do. It's a lot easier to say than it is to do, but I think I'm getting pretty good at that at least.
And last question, how'd you come up with the name?
Oh, gosh, yeah, that was a couple of late nights with the management team. We needed a new name that we thought that what we were doing at the time, and we still believe, is that by having so much data and adding value to this data to make it predictive and being able to be used by marketing and sales and we thought it was revolutionary, and it was really impactful, and it was very powerful. I think powerful was the word. And we kept trying to find an idea, and we were sitting around in a room, and a couple of us are actually avid surfers and are into water sports and stuff. And we kept coming back to, there's nothing more powerful than the ocean. Waves, and the ocean is really powerful. And I think someone was doing some research while we were talking and said, "Have you ever heard of this word Bombora?" And we were like, "Oh, well, what is that?" And it's so it turns out it's an Australian word. It's an Aboriginal word for a large, powerful wave or an outside wave that comes and breaks over a reef. And so we just thought about that for a bit, and we're like, "Yeah, that's actually that could work. It's powerful enough, and it's cool enough." And so we went with it.
Cool. It's memorable. So just go to bombora.com.
That's right.
Cool. Thanks, Eric. I really appreciate your time today.
Great. Thank you.
Hey, it's pretty cool that this is even available today, that you can actually find out who's in market. This is critical because this is the 20% that'll drive your 80% of your revenue. Now, I want to fill you in on this marketing development rep. Now, what it is basically the same as the SDR, but instead of the pitch, the cold calling, the spamming, what they do is they build relationships, authentic relationships with your key targets. And instead of trying to close for a meeting, what they're trying to do is engage them on content. This is working insanely well with several of my clients. So if this sounds like something that you'd like to do, and these don't have to be sophisticated people. I can literally teach somebody in a week how to do this. I've been doing it. It's incredibly powerful. It's incredibly authentic, and it is effective. The problem is with the salespeople is they're stuck in this idea where I have to pitch. I must meet with the CEO. And you know what? A latent buyer, somebody who's not in market, isn't interested, doesn't care yet, doesn't know, like, or trust you yet. So how do you do this? That's why I started the conversation, get the meeting. If you'd like to do it, I put the link in for the course. The course price goes up February 1st. It'll go up again March 1st. So every month I'm upping it because the content's becoming very valuable. It's an online course, but it's coupled with 25 hours of what I call office hours. Office hours are not like lessons or webinars, but it's Q&A, and I'll spur the conversation if no one has any questions with a particular part of the phase, the feedback that I'm getting from people, because I've done a lot of consultations with people, and how to get around it, clarify points with people, give people feedback on their emails, their messaging, their LinkedIn profile, their Twitter profile, all of that, their strategy. It's a way of engaging in the community to find out what is working and what is not. So it's not just an online course. The one-on-one consulting is also available. It's a lot more expensive, but what I want to do is enable people to be able to take this and run it. So it's both for salespeople and for people who in marketing who want to start doing more proactive outbound things because the blogs aren't working anymore. In case you haven't noticed, the advertising, super expensive, very complicated. This is something you have 100% control over. It's a 6-month course. It takes you, a week to get started, but of course, it takes a while to get your system in place. And once you have your system in place, it can be both automated and outsourced if you want for pennies on the dollar. Check it out. Get the meeting course. I put the link in the show notes of the podcast, also on my LinkedIn profile, Brian Burns on LinkedIn, also on the Maverick Method, all one word, YouTube channel. It's the immediate video. As soon as you go to the channel, it'll give you a little bit more data on it. Check it out, or you can just Google, start the conversation, get the meeting, think IFIC. That's the learning management system. That's it. We'll see you next time. Really appreciate you listening. Please connect up with me on LinkedIn and tell somebody about the B2B Revenue Show, will you?
want to know the truth, because deep down in places that you don't talk about at team and management meetings, you want me on that call. You need me on that call. We use words like fleet view, volume control, total cost of ownership. We use these words as a backbone of a life spent negotiating something. You use them as a punchline. I have neither the time nor inclination to explain myself to people who rise and sleep under the very blanket of revenue that I provide and then question the manner in which I provide it. I would rather you just said thank you and went on your way. Otherwise, may I suggest you pick up a phone and make some sales calls. Either way, I don't give a damn what you think you're entitled to.
Did you expense the lap dances?
I did the job I was hired.
Did you expense the lap dances?
You're goddamn right I did!